You are live, Commissioner Robinson. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Sierra. Welcome, Douglas County. My name is Kelly Robinson. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners and Commissioner of the 2nd District. Welcome to the April 4th, 2022 Douglas County Work Session. Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones will not be here today, and so I will serve as proxy in this meeting to facilitate this meeting only, as well as the 2 meetings tomorrow, which is our voting meeting, as well as our P&Z joint meeting. As is our custom, I want to make sure that we have official quorum here. I'll go around the room. Commissioner Mitchell, Commissioner Henry Mitchell of 3rd of the 1st District, are you present?
Present.
All right, Kelly Robinson, Commissioner of the 2nd District, is present. Commissioner Carthen of the 3rd District, are you present?
Present.
Commissioner Guider of the 4th District, are you present?
Present.
All right. Again, for the official record, Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones is not present here. Let it be officially recorded in the record that we have 4 members here and we have a quorum. All right. Thank you, commissioners, my fellow district commissioners. County Clerk, do we have, before we get into the order of business, do we have any public comment?
Yes, good morning, Vice Chair. We did have 2 citizens sign up this morning to speak. The first one is Ms. Sharon Bachtel. And just as a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Once your 3 minutes are up, I will let you know to wrap up your comments. Ms. Bachtel, are you on the line? Okay, she does not appear to be on the meeting. I will now announce Mr. Levon Dixon. Mr. Dixon, are you on the line?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Hi, Ms. Bachtel.
Hi.
I can hear you now.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
If you can just restate your name and your subject matter, and then you'll have 3 minutes to address the board.
Okay. This is Sharon Bachtel, 6331 South Skyline Drive, and my subject is purchasing. In November, this commission updated the procurement policy on service contracts. My question is, why bother when, according to Ordinance 9-25, the commissioners don't have to follow the rules on professional service procurement? I would like to talk about 3 of these contracts that were waved through without posting on the website and getting bids or quotes. The first contract was given to Cole Hill in June 2021 for a pre-design of a library for advertising purposes. $87,500 was taken from 2016 SPLOST funds. When I looked at the jobs posted on the purchasing website, the majority were from SPLOST projects. Many were for design and engineering, which are professional services. The contract for Cole Hill was not posted. Why? When the citizens voted for the 2016 SPLOST, there was no mention of a library. The Park SPLOST list on your website does not have a library listed. The citizens were told this money would be used to fix the parks. The original SPLOST park list has not been completed. Is it legal to use SPLOST funds for a project that was not voted on by the citizens? This $87,500 could have been used to put a handicap swing at one of the parks. The second contract was for Teal Marketing for Facebook. The first contract was given in 2020 for $9,600. This was done at the same time you furloughed the firemen and other county employees. Again, no posting on the website and no quotes. In 2021, the purchase order was for only $5,000. The county ended up paying $18,536 because the contract was extended twice. Was the purchase order only for $5,000 so the commissioner could sign off on it without other approval? In 2022, the contract for Facebook was increased to $20,000. Altogether, the taxpayers have paid almost $48,000 for Facebook. Is this being good stewards of our tax dollars? Teal Marketing worked for a commissioner's campaign and now gets county contracts without competition. Is this how we do business in Douglas County? The third contract is the $175,000 contract given to Collaborative Firm for SPLOST education. This job was not posted or bid out. The contract was not discussed in the Purchasing Oversight Committee because they did not have a meeting in January. Who made the decision to give this contract to Collaborative Firm? Who decided how much money would be spent on this project? Why are we paying $175,000 for less than a year's work when we only pay $100,000 for a whole year's work for Connect Douglas? Who decided to put this contract on the agenda without a 2022 SPLOST resolution? What was the rush? Why are these transactions being planned behind closed doors? Why are so many contracts being given to collaborative firm without competition? Could it be because at least 2 of the commissioners have received sizable campaign donations from Mr. Hightower and the collaborative firm? Is this how we do business in Douglas County? Some might call this pay to play. Quoting from your website, the county has a responsibility to do to its residents to ensure that the maximum value is obtained for each public dollar spent. To obtain the greatest value, it is necessary to follow a set of procedures when purchases are made. If the commissioners have a rule that says they don't have to follow the rules, then this statement on your website is meaningless. I will end my comments with one word: perception. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bechtel, for your contributions to today's work session. Madam Clerk, anyone else?
Yes, sir. I will ask if Mr. Dixon is on the line again. Mr. Dixon, are you on the line? Okay, apparently he's not on the line. Is there any other citizens that did not sign up that would like to speak this morning? Being none, Vice Chair, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into this agenda and keep this meeting moving. As you know, my spirit. So obviously we got meeting minutes from our last meeting that we will discuss tomorrow during our voting meeting. Fellow district commissioners, can you please take a look at them and ensure that we are prepared to vote on them tomorrow? Thank you. Next, County Clerk, first item of business we got a couple of resolutions.
We have 2 proclamations. One will be Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Douglas County. That's for the week of April 10th through April 16th. And Miss Katrina Harley, our new E911 director, will be reading that proclamation. And the second proclamation will be Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Douglas County. And Miss Jasmine Drummond will be here to read that proclamation.
Okay, great. They're already on standby. They're aware. Thank you.
Sir.
All right. Thank you, fellow commissioners. Again, we look forward to that. And to the public, we look forward to those proclamations tomorrow. Madam Clerk, let's keep going. Yes, sir.
The first item is grants. Number 7, we have authorization to accept the fiscal year 21 BAWA continuation award for our Stop Violence Against Women's Act grant through the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in the amount of $53,849 with no match for our domestic violence prosecutor position in the Solicitor General's Office's Domestic Violence Unit for the 2022 grant year, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents and amend the budget as necessary. This is our solicitor, Miss Sonia Compton. Miss Compton, are you on the line this morning?
Good morning. This is Melissa LeBlanc from the Solicitor's Office and Victim Services. Ms. Compton is at a meeting with the Prosecuting Attorney Council and asked me to sit in for her.
That'll be fine. Give our best. We understand conflicts of schedules. And Madam SG, if you're standing in her proxy, you now have the floor. Please come forth.
Thank you. So this is just the yearly VAWA grant that we receive here in our office. The amount is still the same at $53,849. The match has been waived again this year.
All right, thank you. So there is no match, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Fellow commissioners, any one of you guys want to take the floor? All right, I take silence as keep moving. Thank you so much for your obviously presentation to us, and we'll see you tomorrow during the vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Item number 8 is approval of the Violence Against Women's Act grant in the amount of $50,000 for an existing domestic violence investigator position within the District Attorney's Office with no match for 2022, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Ms. Laura Thompson is here to discuss this. Ms. Thompson?
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Yes,
morning.
this is our yearly VAWA grant that we received $50,000 at no match. And we just need the chairman to sign the documents.
Thank you so much. So this is an annual grant?
It is.
All right, and this is consistently that you guys have received this. Does it ever grow, or is it always consistently this as a flat? Have you seen it grow over time?
I have not.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
just that appropriation from up at the General Assembly, and this what you guys are able to access.
Correct. That's correct.
I got you. Fellow district commissioners, you guys, anybody want to weigh in on this? All right, Madam Thompson, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Number 9, authorization to enter into an MOU with the Georgia Public Defender Council for the ARPA grant funding in the amount of $83,333.33 to be used to hire staff to address backlog of cases due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Ms. Monica Miles, our public defender, is here to discuss this.
Good morning.
Madam Public Defender, you're out there? Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
You have the floor.
Thank you. So as you've probably heard from other offices in the county, the ARPA money is being allocated in the judicial system to help with the backlog of cases. The judges did apply for the public defender's office to receive some ARPA funds when the judges applied, and everyone received funds except for us. Since then, the Georgia Public Defender Council was allocated funds from the operating budget from the state and are allocating $500,000 to be shared amongst the 6 opt-out counties. So our portion would be $83,333. So I'm here to ask you, the commissioners, to allow me to enter into an MOU with the council, Georgia Public Defenders Council, to be able to receive these funds. We would be allowed to use the funds to hire an attorney, staff, or whatever we deem fit to help clear up the backlog of the serious violent felonies. We can hire support staff to help assist the attorneys. We can hire an attorney to do lower level felonies to help clear up time for the other attorneys who are handling the serious violent felonies. They're not giving us a lot. The money's not renewable. We only get $83,000, which is a small portion compared to what everyone else in the system gets, but we'll take it. So if you have any questions, but I've been meeting with Ms. Hobson, and I'll be following up with Latifah Terry Bodes next week if this is approved, or this week, to see who we can hire, what kind of position we can get.
Thank you, Madam Public Defender. Fellow commissioners, any comments, thoughts?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you have the floor. I yield to you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Have it. Monica, how big of a backlog do you have? Do you know?
Well, we do have a backlog. I can't specifically tell you what the court's backlog is because I haven't been provided that information. I know that there are numerous felonies in this office. The specific number, I could provide it for you at some point. But there are, I'm just looking at a list of murder cases, but not all of them are our office. We have a ton of murder cases that are pending in Douglas County. We have a ton of serious violent felony cases that are pending that our office has, that at some point, there's been trials, but I think things are going to be going back to how they used to be when all 3 judges are having trials at the same time. And there's going to be an avalanche, basically, of work. So I can get you a specific number of how many cases.
No, I just wondered if you knew about how many. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you mentioned something about the 6 opt-out counties. What do you mean by that?
Well, as you know, but there's the statewide Georgia Public Defender Standards system, and there were 6 counties that were able to opt out and operate independently of the state. So that means we operate independently. We answer to the Board of Commissioners, we answer to the judges, and then of course, all the Georgia Bar and the Court of Appeals and Supreme Court and all the other entities. And we do receive funding from the council, and then we have to comply with the law and their rules on how we operate, but we don't have to deal with their day-to-day edicts, so to speak, and follow their rules. The other counties within the state of Georgia are considered opt-in, and the state sort of oversees them and hires their public defender and provides them a few positions in their offices, and then the counties, each individual county supplements the rest of the positions, which is the majority. So I don't know if that answers him somewhat.
But does it prohibit your office from receiving more grant funds? I just wondered.
Well, you may not be. There's really normally never any grant money out there for public defender work. In the juvenile world, there's a little bit, but for the adult, so this is sort of a first time ever that we've even been able to do this. And I think it's because the state's giving so much money to the judges and the prosecutors and solicitors and everybody else that they're like, well, we hire all these extra prosecutors and bring in extra judges. Somebody's got to defend all the clients, all the defendants who are going to trial. So they gave us a little bit. So the state, the council, the Georgia Public Defenders Council received not a lot of money, and they allocated a part of that to the opt-out counties, and then the rest will go to the opt-in. The opt-in's not really getting any more than the opt-out. They're just trying to allocate it. And we're getting the same as Comm. We're getting the same as all the other counties that are much bigger than us that are opt-out, which, I mean, you could argue that's not really fair because our population is a lot less. But I think that was just easiest for the council to do. We do get funding every year per statute from the council, and that comes every month. We get a check, and I take it up to finance. So,
And just for the benefit of the public, you defend, or you serve as counsel for the indigents.
that's correct. Anybody who's charged with a crime in Douglas County, whether it be misdemeanor or felony, we're appointed to represent, which is the majority of the folks who are accused of crimes. Yes.
Well, you do a fantastic job. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Madam Guider, have you yielded?
Yes.
Thank you. To that point, I agree, Madam Public Defender. You got to obviously support both, right? Magistrate and the superior, right? What do we normally, we have historically been presented during our budget cycle, what, 2,000 felonies plus or minus per year, 10,000 misdemeanors, fair and speedy trial. Yes, the thing is backed up. First time in 100 years, you get dropped 83,000, right? I get it. Again, you do a yeoman's job. And again, it's always historically the law firms associated with, obviously, Madam SG and Madam DA, much, much bigger. But yet you got to represent everybody, right? And trying to get the help that's necessary. So I do support this accordingly, as I've always done. To my other fellow commissioners, you guys want to weigh in on this, or are we good? All right, silence. Madam Public Defender, thank you so much. We'll see you on the floor tomorrow. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Madam Clerk, let's keep going.
Yes, sir. Number 10, authorization to accept the ACCG Internship Program Block Grant in the amount of $2,607.60 and approve the temporary position of a Property Safety Inspection Assistant and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to legal review. Mr. Matt Laverne is on the line to discuss this.
Director?
I thought he was on. Well, he's on the line. He's muted. Matt, you may need to hit *6 if you're on your phone to unmute yourself. Vice Chair, maybe we can go on to the next one and come back to that.
No, bring him back.
Okay.
In fact, he move the agenda around. Next.
Okay, now we're getting into our business items. Number 11, authorization for the chairman to execute a part-time employment contract in the annual amount of $65,000 with Fallon Mcclure as a part-time temporary assistant.
Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, who was this?
I apologize. This is Matt Laverne. I've got a camera problem this morning,
Okay.
with my mic at any rate.
Hold on, Matt. We're okay, no problem. But fellow commissioners, okay, we're going to suspend going into the last topic that was being introduced by Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, let's hold on that Matt Laverne is here. So please reread that one. Matt, stand by so that the public knows exactly what we're talking about. We'll stay on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Read the prior one, please.
Okay, authorization to accept the ACCG Internship Program Block Grant in the amount of $2,607.60 and approve the temporary position of a Property Safety Inspection Assistant and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review.
All right. Director Laverne, you now have the floor.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Vice Chair Robinson and Commissioners. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to bring this before you this morning. This position is a temporary position for a Property Safety Inspection Assistant. Risk and Safety has a new safety coordinator, and we plan to get out in the month of May and June to do our facility inspections. Now, this is a one-time block grant from the ACCG. It's budget neutral, it's value adding, and its purpose is not only to provide assistance to risk and safety in recording and documenting the different things we'll need to do out in the field, but it is to help bring work experience to today's student, which is tomorrow's, or today's youth and student to tomorrow's professional, to bring this experience to them. And so I'm asking authorization for this temporary position. I stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Director. No problem. This is obviously an annual grant that we have availed ourselves from time to time. So, fellow commissioners, any comments on this one?
Vice Chair Robinson?
Yes. Commissioner Carson from the 3rd District, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Director Laverne. My question to you is, do you already have someone in sight for this particular position? Or does ACCG provide you all with a pool of students that you can pull from in order to fulfill this grant need?
No, ma'am. We will, of course, we will post the position just as any temporary position with through Human Resources. But I've also always taken the initiative when I've done these in the past to contact all local schools, technical schools, universities, all from Kennesaw State to Emory to West Georgia, to West Georgia Technical School. So we will be looking for, I will let them know their career centers, but at the same time, we'll post this and look for that best candidate.
Okay, and is this position a summer intern position, 2-3 months? How do you anticipate utilizing this?
Yes, ma'am. Well, with the sum of 2,600 and change, it looks like we'll be able to do right around 175 hours that we'll be able to use that intern. And in the past, we've been able to extend them with some other grant money. I don't know if that'll happen this time. We'll have to see as we get into it to apply for additional grants. But with that being said, we could certainly utilize the assistance in risk and safety. And so I hope that answers your question, Commissioner.
And is this at $15 an hour, the minimum?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Director Laverne. Vice Chairman Robinson, I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Carthen. I have one, and this may be to our two county administrators. Annually, the Board of Commissioners, at least in the past 4 years, have accessed $2,000 stipend for internships, which I believe there was a solicitation recently, I could be wrong, for us to re-engage this year. And obviously, it's right around the corner. I mean, school is out shortly. Do y'all know, maybe, Madam ACA, you got any insight on the internship for the board? I know that there's also interns throughout the entire system here. So 2 things. 1, where do we stand with the Board of Commissioners intern? 2, I'd like to know how many interns are used annually throughout Douglas County. In other words, whether it's the sheriff, the DA, whomever. I'd like to know how many people are awarded interns every year, and like who gets them. Can you get that for us tomorrow? But more importantly, where do we stand on the Board of Commissioners 5 interns? Thank you. Madam ACA, is she out there?
Yes, I'm here, Commissioner Robinson. Yes, we would definitely be able to try to get all of that information for you.
Okay, so we'll get it tomorrow. We won't belabor it for right now, but we'd like to get that answer. All right, fellow commissioners, anything else on this one? All right, let's keep going. Madam Clerk, next.
Yes, sir. We'll get back to our business items. Number 11, authorization for the chairman to execute a part-time employment contract in the annual amount of $65,000 with Fallon Mcclure as the part-time temporary assistant solicitor general. Ms. Melissa LeBlond, are you still here?
Is Madam SC doing this?
No, this was for Solicitor General. She may have thought that was her only item, so we'll try to get.
Could somebody reach out to her office and let them know that we still need to hear from them today during the work session? But in the meantime,
Yes,
all right, Madam Clerk, go on to the next one, please.
Okay, number 12, authorization to accept an anonymous donation received in the form of a check on December 14th, 2021 in the amount of $5,000 and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Chief Joe Levette.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Vice Chair Robinson, the Board of Commissioners, and to our citizens. Thank you for allowing us to serve you. This is an opportunity to help us with one of our initiatives. It's our employee appreciation mental wellness health. We want to have a special day, and these funds will help create a budget neutral situation for us to do that, and also take care of our employees. So we're asking the Board of Commissioners to authorize this one-time donation of $5,000 from anonymous donor.
Thank you, Fire Chief. Fellow commissioners, any comments regarding this anonymous donation?
Yes, sir.
Madam Guy, you have the floor.
I think on the agenda, it ought to be included to what department the donation goes to.
Yes, ma'am.
It just says a donation. It could go to an individual. It could go to any department. So I think we need to add for the fire and EMS department.
And then we'll take care of that.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're back.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, to that point, again, specificity is key on our agenda items. Thank you, Madam Guyer, for that. You know, as we get into sourcing and who, the more we can be more accurate in how we do this, the more transparent that we are. So thank you for those comments. Anything else, anybody? All right, Fire Chief, thank you so much, sir. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, sir.
Madam Clerk?
Okay, yes, number 13, authorization to approve fee changes within the development services as recommended by the Residential Development Committee. And Director James Worthington is here to speak on that.
All right, Director
Good morning.
Worthington, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I'm going to be presenting some recommendations that were made by the Residential Development Committee. These are some fee changes and additions, and I'm going to read through these just so they're on the record. I'm going to start with planning and zoning. The bulk of these are new fees, but they're not additional fees. It's basically based because we have had so many changes in our code lately that some of our zonings were not being captured. Some of the things we've codified, we didn't have fees associated with it. So we've kind of massaged the language to include those. So I'm going to read those just for the record. And I apologize, allergies are getting to my voice, so I'll try to be clear with this. But zoning to PRD, $1,550. Zoning to PUD, $3,345. Amendments to approved PUDs, ODPs, and ODS, $1,882. Zoning to RHD, $3,345. Special use permit renewal or show cause hearing, $300. Administrative variances, $125. Appeal of administrative decision to variance board, $550. Minor subdivision final plat, $300. Minor subdivision lot split, combination or rearrangement plats, $50. Revision to recorded subdivision plats, $200. Final plat vacation, $1,550. Merger by continuity certificate with recording, $50. Certificate of nonconformance with recording, $50. Similar use determination, $125. DRI application initiating review, $100. Road vacation or name change, $125. And then I'm going to move on to engineering department. Their fees are actually increases in fees to capture more of the cost of doing business these days. They're more about inspections and time spent reviewing plans. These were originally approved in 2004, and they have not changed since 2004. So field inspections were previously set at $60 or $68.50. They're going to go to $125. Plan review fee is $215 or $250, based on whether or not it was residential or commercial. It's going to go to $300. Land disturbance fees were based on an acreage of $58.50 or $68.50, depending on whether it was residential or commercial. And we're going to do that at a flat $75. And then that's their only changes. And then for the building department, again, their fee structure was set up in 2004 when we adopted the code. And it has not changed since then. As everyone knows, everything has went up incrementally, or I probably should say exponentially. But so building permit fees are based on an algorithm, but it has a base fee for residential of $30 a square foot, and we would propose to change that to $45. And the commercial base fee is $50. We're proposing to change that to $75. And the reinspection fees are $25, $35, and $50, being for the first, second, and third inspections. And we'll change those to $30, $50, and $100. I know that was a whole lot of information and numbers, but felt necessary to read those into the record.
Thank you so much, Director Worthington. And I appreciate that. That's something that I've sort of watched over time, that, you know, it's probably more of a mindset. While we want Douglas County to be a place that we can do business in, there's still a cost of doing business, and it should be reflected like with anything. And so I appreciate the comments regarding the commercial side of things. Right, there is a contribution that's necessary to, you know, just to even the general administrative part. And so these fees, well, and I'm sure the committee who was making this recommendation had thought through that. I'm thinking, was that enough to make up 14 years of inflation and flatness in spite of today's? And it's always balancing the developer side, those guys on that side versus this side. But I mean, the citizens typically are flat. Commercial gets to expand, but those are just my thoughts, and I'm comfortable with what you guys have presented because you have been thoughtful about it. So I can see the spread and how you guys grew it, but you know, I will lean higher, but I'll let that go for right now. To my other peers, anyone want to weigh in? Commissioner Mitchell, sir, would you like to weigh in on this?
My apologies, I was on mute, but no, I think we're right on point. I mean, we've had some discussions at the committee level, so I'll leave it there. So at this point. All
right, thank you, sir. To my other commissioners, Commissioner Guider, Commissioner Carthen, I mean, obviously this is important for all of us. We all have character areas. We all grow very differently. Any thoughts on these fee changes? Obviously, this is revenue.
Yes,
Guider, the other floor.
Yes, thank you. James, the only one that popped out at me was the residential. You're raising it $15 per square foot. That's going to cause, you know, individuals that build their own home. It would certainly add to the already inflated cost of the house. So I was wondering that couldn't we do it more per total square feet of the house or something like that? Because
so it's not a fee of $15 a square foot.
It's an additional fee.
It's a base fee of $15. It's kind of like when you're figuring property taxes. And then we go through these charts and say on all of these amounts, you'll owe this much. So basically on on say a $300,000 house, this fee will end up being probably an extra $150. It's not $15 per square foot of a fee.
Oh, that's what you said. I thought that's what you said.
It's
That's
the
what-
base
that's what
fee.
caught me.
I'm sorry. It's the base fee. So we have some spreadsheets that go through, and they're a sliding scale, and it's intended to kind of be easy on the little folks. And then the bigger you get, the more expensive you get, the more fees you get. But so say a $500,000 house, you're still only looking at probably $500 for a permit fee. It's still very cheap.
Okay, but I was just concerned. It sounded like that really add to the cost of houses, and there's a house shortage out here. So you've assured me that we're not gouging.
I assure you we're
that
not.
we like to build homes out here.
And I will tell you that I've had a number of builders approach me and say, "Wow, y'all's prices haven't changed in forever. What?
All right.
Y'all are way behind."
Okay, well, if they're happy, I'm happy. So
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that to me. Thank
Sure.
you. I yield back.
Thank you. But to that point, and this is the part where we'll talk about this a little later about our legislation. We even have to maintain not just our roads, our legislation, our fees. Like we're talking about offsetting the burden of the taxpayers, the homeowner, right? And it's like, no, it matters. And it's not that. And what happens is that when you go 14 years and now you got to make adjustment, that's a big balloon. Right? We went through that recently. If you maintain along the way, it's more palatable. When you have these huge 14 years, you got to adjust for inflation and everything else, and it's a shock, but it's cheap to the point like, okay, y'all well behind, so you've left 14 years of relative money on the table, and so it's being more mindful of that. It simply is a policy. It's just our position if we choose to focus on those things and stay relevant, stay up to date. But I'm glad to see that Commissioner Mitchell III and his leadership over there in that residential committee. This is important right here. Right, you got to stay in tune. We can't be in a bubble in a vacuum as relates to how we relate to the rest of the world. So like, look, yeah, they'll come over here and do business with us. Oh, they ain't cheap. It ain't like that. No, guys, you got to stay up to market. Relative, you got to compete. But if you leave too much on the table, we get exposed sometimes with undue burden. So I'm glad to see this. This is James. We talked about this, and so you told me that this was coming forth. So I'm very excited to hear that you guys are at least adjusting things accordingly. So I won't believe it. Commissioner Carthy, you want to weigh in on this, or can I keep going?
Just one question.
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. So to that point, Director Worthington, how often now will the committee or will you all as staff recommend fee increases to kind of get us caught up? Because you're right, it is relatively cheap when you look at what Cobb is, doing, and Fulton County to our east, and Cobb, right beside us. So how often do you think now you all will be looking at these fees so that we are competitive and so that we have better builders and
Sure.
The quality of builders will go up because they know that we, anticipate them building a quality product because we're charging them and we're ensuring that.
So historically, we looked at these about every 5 years, but when these were adopted in 2004, we started looking at them in 2008 or 9. That was right when the recession kind of came on board. So we really couldn't do anything then. And then as we finally, it took us a long time to come out of that as far as building goes. And then we started into COVID. So I would say I don't expect to wait 5 years this go around because there's a lot of changes going on right now with fuel prices, construction prices, man hours. The price of doing business is going up. So we'll probably look at this again in a year or two and then kind of fall back to the kind of a 5-year cycle to see what it looks like. Ideally for me, I would like to cover our own cost. So we're not a burden on the taxpayer. We're a burden on just whoever's doing business.
Absolutely. And we as the taxpayers would appreciate that as well.
Sure.
Have you seen an uptick and an increase since COVID?
So yes, things are starting to come back around on our end. Construction's moving along pretty well. It's it's coming back good for us. We're busy. We're very busy.
Wonderful. That's good to hear. Well, I yield. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carson, of the 3rd District. And to that point, can we get an updated report seeing this April, Director Worthington of building permits? You know, your quarterly normally put out. Can you just, not that you don't publish it, but can you ensure that all the commissioners get the updated copy reflected to March of 2020?
I certainly will. I do the quarterly report actually usually this week. I'll be doing that for January, February, March. So
awesome.
I'll get that out. It'll probably be next week before that comes out.
That's fine, but it does show historical. Is that correct?
Correct. It'll go back probably 10 years. It shows good bit.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to go back and I'll post this statement back in 2009 when we were going through recession. Well, right, there wasn't any building going on, but we did update the code. But during that time, there was no desire from a philosophy perspective to touch the fees, because there's always this fear that people won't come over here and they, you know, if we get, you know, we raise prices, and I always disagree with that. Right, and it's just that sometimes you can make yourself so cheap that you're giving it away.
Right.
Like, know your value, know who you are. Your cost is your cost, your worth is your worth. But okay, I get it. But again, I'm encouraged that there's been a shift to make things more, you know, it needs to be moderate. I mean, there's always what I call moderation and stuff, but not just to think that, okay, we want to keep it cheap out here at night. Now, guys, because now that's a burden on the taxpayers. You're not offsetting it right, but okay, I get it. All right, good conversation, man. I appreciate you guys, my fellow peers and stuff. So, Director Worthington, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Work on the committee, and we'll see you tomorrow to see what the board decides to do.
All right, thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. We have Ms. LeBlanc back on the phone. So I'm going to reread that agenda item and let her address that for you, okay?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, authorization for the chairman to execute a part-time employment contract in the amount of $65,000 with Fallon Mcclure as a part-time temporary assistant solicitor general. Ms. LeBlanc?
Ms. LeBlanc, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you so much. I apologize. I did not realize Sonia had another item on the agenda this morning. I did want to touch that Ms. Mcclure is going to be our part-time ADA, or not ADA, ASG in our office for our traffic unit. This unit was developed at some point last year. I cannot remember exactly when, but it's been of vital importance to our office to have the traffic unit. We prosecute so many traffic cases a year. So I'm pretty sure that's all Sonia would have touched on had she been here, but that's all I have for you.
You've done a wonderful job. You're fine.
Thank you.
Yes, fellow commissioners, any comments on this? All right, Mr. Bond, I think that's it. You did a great job, and we'll take this up to matter an official vote.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. The next item, number 14, approval of a reply to Arpit Realty LLC objecting to a requested annexation into the city of Billerica. Mr. Phil Schaefer is here to discuss this. Mr. Schaefer.
Phil. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Thank you. So what we have here is kind of a little bit of a complication. The applicant lawyer has sent in a letter requesting that we consent to an annexation into Billerica. This is the same applicant that came to us in 2018 for the same property, at which point we made note the original one in 2018 was directly to us from the city of Billerica. This one has come to us from the applicant's lawyer. So it is not a valid request to annex. It is just a request to consent to annexation. And part of the reason I believe it's coming to us this way is because it's outside of the territory that was agreed upon some years ago in 2007 as to what the Billerica annexation profile could look like. So Billerica annexed a bunch of property. We sent them letters telling them not to annex this and that, and we came into an agreement with them in 2007. It says, this is what you can annex, and this is what you can't. And this property has been outside of that territory that was allowed for annexation ever since. And so I think the appropriate path here is for the chair to sign a letter suggesting to this applicant's lawyer that no, we do not consent to the annexation request for the same reasons that we objected in 2018. It's outside the territory, and there are a number of other reasons that were put into the letter addressed to them again in 2018.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Schaefer. County Attorney, I need you to weigh on this. I've got a couple questions. One, why is this before us in this manner, seeing that, and I'm sure this is just more for the transparency's sake, but can you weigh in on this matter, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chair. I did consult with zoning regarding this annexation request, and we have, if it were a request coming from the county, from the city directly, then we would have 30 days to respond. But and the statute requires that the city submit the request to us, and since the city did not submit the request to us, it came from and the applicant's lawyer, then, I think our view collectively is that it's not a proper request. But nonetheless, I think it's the position that we would deny the annexation request because it's inconsistent with the agreement that was negotiated and because it was not a proper request. So I think it's not proper because it did, and I think it would be bad for us to get into the business of accepting requests in a manner that's not coming through the statute, not as required by statute. And so, I concur with the recommendation made by Mr. Schaefer for the reasons stated, and happy to answer any direct questions you might have.
Thank you. But to that point, if it's not proper, then why should it be before the Board of Commissioners other than just awareness? In other words, no action, seeing that this can be taken care of through the normal executive branch consideration. In other words, it didn't make it to us. Is this more of
Well, I think the request is that the chair sign the letter denying the request.
Right.
Denying it. So I think that's why it's here, so that but I certainly understand your position. I think it could have very well been done without coming for the board, but I think it's a matter of awareness. Yeah. And because the chair would be asked to sign the letter.
I understand. All right. And again, one of the things we're trying to get to a place of efficiency. Some of it is administrative concurrence, right? So again, it's an item, we rarely see anything like this. So don't worry, I've not seen one like this before. So it warrants having a conversation. So fellow commissioners, any thoughts on this? All right. Silence is keep moving. They know how to grab the floor if they want it. So County Attorney Phil, keep it moving forward. We'll take this up tomorrow to give the blessing of the board for Madam Chair to sign according to your recommendation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Madam Clerk.
Yes. Item number 15, approval of an amendment to the 2022 operating budget in the amount of $145,373.80 to accommodate for the unanticipated rate increase by Republic from $29.50 per ton to $40 per ton, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. And Director Cowart is here to address this.
Hey, good morning, Vice Chair, Commissioners, Deputy, and Assistant County Administrator, fellow directors. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing good. So just real quick, Sierra, can you bring up that slideshow? Okay, slide. So I'm going to have this up and kind of just talk you through the process a little faster. Next slide, please. Okay. So as you said in the opening, we've had Republic for quite a while, and we've gotten pretty good at the anticipating what the rate is going to go up to, and what we need for the year. So right after we talked with Republic, gave them the whole, all right, what's it look like for the increase? Then we did our budget, got our numbers, briefed y'all, got it approved. 22 budget is off, and we're at the end of the first quarter, and here I am back saying my numbers are not going to work out. So it's frustrating for me because I like doing it right the first time. However, there's nothing. It's unanticipated. We never saw it coming. We checked with them, and it's across the industry. I believe one of the major players stepped down, which created a bigger footprint for everybody else. So the next three, you've got GFL, Republic, and Waste Management are the three now. Used to be six, was four, now it's three. So they changed their rates accordingly. They did it across the board. It's not just us. In fact, slide. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is our history of what we've paid for in the last 18 years. And yes, that's a long time to have a contract. We send it out to bid every 5 years to now every 3. And but this is why all from 2004 to 2014, no change in our rate, and you can see the price. Then it started coming up, and that's a trend that has gone all the way till now. So our other municipalities out there, they use the same, one of the three now, and they're paying quite a lot more than us. So the shock was not as bad to them. They didn't go from where we were at 29, 47 to 40, but they were already at like 38, 37. So we had a good thing. This shows the history. We've been getting exceptional rates for a long time. So we've benefited off of that. Now they want more, and that is the market. So after I've explained that, and I can go back into it, any question if you have it, but I'll just say that leads me to, I need $145,375.80 to adjust to my budget to make it to where it works again. So pending your questions.
Got it.
Who's first?
All right, Director Coward, thank you so much for that. To the public, and obviously my fellow peers will probably weigh in on this, but
yes,
one more time. 2004, again, when you freeze yourself in time, eventually time catches up with you. Now the market is adjusting us, right? That word right. It's consolidation in the industry, 6 to 4 to 3. Got it. You got no choice unless you decide to insource this. You do it yourself, but we're already down a path of life. In essence, we've outsourced this. And again, I appreciate Republic, don't get me wrong. As a client, they've served as well. But at some point, you're like, look, guys, we got y'all. Well, we got to adjust our rates. See, everybody else ain't got no problem adjusting what they got to do. Right? And so this is business, as one commissioner would say. Right. And so to Director Coward, no, duly noted, you did obviously properly submit a budget. Obviously, this was unanticipated, and so it is our job to ensure that this is done. Now, whether we do it in tomorrow's vote or during the revisit, that's up to the board, because I'd like to know what the source of funding would be to make this shortfall up, seeing our budget has been obviously balanced coming into this moment. I don't think, Director Coward, you have to worry about us not making sure we pay our trash bill, but nonetheless, I'm going to yield right now to my fellow peers. Please weigh in, any one of you.
Yes, sir.
Madam Guider, you have the floor.
Well, you've already touched on it. I was going to say from what source the funds are coming. I'm not questioning. I'm not questioning the need for this, or Director Coward. But where the funds are going to be coming from, and it needs to note where it's going into, since he has an enterprise account.
Oh, I'm sorry, probably the biggest point I did not bring up is the funding source. So you'll be happy to find out that we are the funding source. Yes, the enterprise fund. So I've got 3 different accounts that I'm not going to tell you the exact account and all that unless you want to know particulars after this different forum. But I've got 3 accounts with a total of 146,000 coming out of to pay every bit of this increase.
So it's coming out of
coming
your
out of my
accounts,
what I've got,
and that needs to be noted.
and I've gotten away from my other accounts for maintenance for some things, but it's something I can do, and if the maintenance piece comes back to bite me, you know, we'll talk at that point. But yes, ma'am, I think I've got it covered.
Okay, but it just needs to be. I'm not questioning you. I'm just questioning. I'm just stating that it needs to be noted on here. It's the operating budget of the enterprise, the landfill enterprise account, and not general fund. So, with that, I yield back. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Guider from the 4th District. Okay, so let me clarify this. Let me get this right. It's an enterprise fund. And I always have, you said that you don't want to disclose where it's coming from. Like, okay, no. But no, stay with me. This is not you. It has more to do with transparency. Like these are that CAFR with the 5-hour pictures on the front. We have to disclose where the money came from, went from, cash flows, etc. Duly noted. So a more simpler question is that: is there a fund balance in the enterprise fund? First question: do you have any excess fund balance? Director, no, hold on. Director, is Rosin out there? Rosin, I need you to bail in here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
No, the enterprise fund at this time is showing a deficit in their fund balance. However, each month, each year, they're closing that deficit. Last year, they put money in to their fund balance, about 400,000, and at that time they had a 1.1 million deficit. So it has reduced the deficit. But as what I'm hearing, it sounds like it would just be a transfer, a budget transfer from one line item to another. So
That's
it's
correct.
not really going to increase his budget. He's just going to take money, for example, from supplies and put it into the account that this vendor is paid out of. So it will not increase his 2022 budget. He's just transferring between line items.
Right. Stay there just for a second, but to that point. So that's what I'm saying. The plot thickens. Okay, so we run in negative order, and Republicans are raising its fees on us. Right. And I know we tried to adjust our policy. In other words, we're out of sync. I get it. Don't worry. We won't pick up trash. We're gonna pay our trash bill. It's not my point. I'm trying to align our policy. I'm trying to align our fiscal policy along with our operating policy. Right. So we're in a negative. Right. You closing the gap. Well done, Director Powell. Way to go. You're getting there. But it's like, okay, guys. Now you don't have to take. My point is, we don't have to take action today. You have enough budget to get you to September, maybe August, before you would actually be negative, because you have money right now. So I'm saying, I don't know if I would do it this way. We got to revisit coming up next at our next meeting. Director Miller, I'm trying to. I don't want to cannibalize his supplies. I don't know if that's the right course of action. I'm open to my other peers to weigh in on this. Like, okay, guys, why are we? Because you got money right now to operate. You're good. It's beginning of the year, so we put enough in there to the price is adjusted, cost adjusted. Fine, I got it. So we got to adjust this. It's almost like at the end of the year we can revisit this at the end of the year when you're about to get to zero. Like, we know you're negative, or we can adjust it now accordingly. But to sacrifice your supplies and everything that you need today for something that you may not have to deal with until later this year, I don't know if that's the right course of action. But
I understand that, sir.
All right, so let us go to my peers. Let them weigh in on this, please. Any of you guys want to weigh in on this one? Anybody?
Well, Vice Chair,
Madam Guy, Commissioner Garden?
yeah, I don't think we can do anything yet until he's depleted his budget. I mean, he's adjusting his own budget within his accounts. So it's not affecting the general fund, which is what the revisit's gonna be about. But I don't know if you're asking that we supplement this amount from the general fund over there. But other than raising fees, that would only be the only other recourse, I think. Or cutting things out. He's evidently going to be cutting things out of his budget himself in order to try to accommodate this. Am I?
That's correct.
In a turn, yeah. Okay, so I think, and we always have some funds at the end of the year that we can do something about. But I don't know, how are the fees? Are they helping to close this gap as far as the fund balance of your account?
They are, and I'm not familiar with Roz's account because I'm not negative unless she's factoring in post-closure, which is 30 years after the fact, then yes, we're not there, but we have another 14 years service now, and then that's all the money that we're paying yearly to go. All that still goes in. So that number is not accurate. And
So you're going to be You're going to be able to adjusting your expenditures any way you can in order to not come up with a zero balance at the end of the year. Is that okay for me to say?
I'm sorry.
You're going to be adjusting your expenditures, maybe putting off some or whatever,
yes,
so that at the end of the year you do not come up with a zero balance.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know that we should do anything at this point. He's just asking, can he transfer funds within his account? So
October 2021.
So anyway, I yield back. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Director. Again, on this one, it's a duly noted. I'd like to maybe not take any action until our next meeting. And yes, I was sort of suggesting that we need to I know that we borrowed money from one enterprise fund in times past over to the general fund and vice versa. The board has the power to do so with certain rules. Again, it's something that, again, the market adjusted on us. So again, at the end of the day, we as a board commissioner own everything and how we have to see across and how they're aligned. So I didn't want Director Powell to feel out there by himself. You know, that is an enterprise fund. We still have to understand how it fits, that we're responsible for appropriating everything, just like we appropriated for his budget. So it's something that's worth the conversation. Commissioner Mitchell, Commissioner Carson, y'all want to weigh in? Right now I'm at a point of no action duly noted. We can take it up formally during the revisit next if we need to take certain action. There's no need to sacrifice that. You have a full budget. It's not busted yet. So I just don't see the need to take action today, but again, I always respect.
No, you're correct. I'm just making you aware of the largest change.
Got it. Fellow peers, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Carthen, y'all weigh in, or y'all okay with no action right now? Duly noted. We can take it up at our next meeting more formally. I think it needs to be given a little bit more thought, but duly noted, as he said, just FYI. But I would not be able to position that you sacrifice your supplies and everything to make up something that won't happen until the future. In other words, you got to pause right now. All right.
Vice Chair Robinson.
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor, Commissioner Carson from the 3rd District.
Thank you. So, Director Cower, when would this $40 a ton take place? What's the effective date for it?
The end of May. That's our contract's May. So May 21st, I believe. I have it on the slide here. Yes, May the 21st is when the new contract, the new fee kicks in. And that's it. Like I said, everybody else, we're still lower than what the same company, Republic, is charging other municipalities out there. So we're still doing good. It's just a major change for us.
Okay, so, and you just brought this to us because we needed to be aware that those fees are going up. And
Yes.
right, so we can adjust accordingly when you come back to ask for the maintenance. It seems like that's how you're going to maintain this.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
you put your budget from January to December, so you are appropriating from what you will need from May until December in order to cover this increase. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah. I'm fine with what you're doing. Keep us posted, and I'm assured that you are going to look at the fees that we are charging, and you are going to give us a recommendation as to how moving forward we can ensure that we have what we need, and it'll be adjusted in the budget moving forward, especially for next year's budget.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Just needed to hear that from you. All right.
Well, yeah, I recently just saw a big increase between west side. They were paying $60 a ton tipping fee, and they just went up to 73 per ton. So that's quite a jump, and that's on 78 in Douglas County, but it's not ours. So that's commercial. That's our main competition next door. And now I've got a lot of their business coming our way because of it, but still a large gap between 60 and 73. So we should definitely have that conversation.
Wonderful. I'm glad to see that you're already identifying areas where we can do better.
Try to stay on it.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. With that, Vice Chair Robinson, I yield.
All right.
Yes, and I was just going to, thank you. I was just going to not add, but just say what we're actually doing in the direction we're taking. I think it only makes sense. So count me in. I'll defer to you guys.
All right, so all four of us have weighed in. We'll allow it on the agenda tomorrow to take whatever action that may be necessary. It sounds like this was a duly noted. But if there's something formal that you'd like to do, we recognize that obviously Republic is raising what they're raising. And we can just make it a simple administrative concurrence, but we'll see what the board does tomorrow. I think we've sort of weighed in on this enough for right now.
Sir,
thank you so much for advising us on the action before us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, duly noted, guys. Thank you so much for weighing in on that. That was a good one, and it does matter because it impacts everybody. Everybody has trash. So, all right, Madam Clerk, let's move on to our next item.
Yes, sir. Number 16, approval of an agreement with Amatrace in the total amount of $402,882,044 for the TV control room booth in the amount of $214,490. The TV set build in the amount of $41,890, and the third floor studio in the amount of $146,502.44. Renovations to be funded through ARPA, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
All right, who's bringing this one?
Mr. Martin, Mr. Rick Martin.
All right, Director Martin, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Greetings, Vice Chair Robinson, Board of Commissioners, staff, citizens. Since the pandemic, the Communications and Community Relations Department has been working feverishly through and to ensure our broadcasts of the Board of Commissioners meetings and committee meetings occur without interruption, but that hasn't been the case. Technology has advanced, but our equipment has not. We took the opportunity to receive proposals from 4 different companies and quotes, and we've come back with Amatrace to be that company that could help us and advance us. We took this to the programming committee to discuss, and the programming committee voted unanimously 5-0 to move forward. We took it to the purchasing oversight committee. This agreement and the purchasing oversight committee as well passed unanimously to move forward. So we're asking the Board of Commissioners to approve, basically as a final stop, to approve the renovations so set in the agenda. I yield back to you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Director Martin. All right, so we went through two committees. Did you say technology or programming committee?
Programming, sir.
So programming over to procurement up to the Board of Commissioners. Got it. Just want to make sure I followed the path flow for this obviously award. Any fellow peers who want to take the lead on this and speak to it, or you just want to let it lie as is?
Vice Chairman Robinson, I'll at least just one comment.
Yes, sir.
This technology did have an insight in all of this, so it didn't pass just straight by technology. But however, as stated by the program director Rick Martin, I think this kind of needs to move forward. I think we all kind of agree that this technology has changed and the equipment hasn't, and we haven't been able to keep up with the changing of equipment to keep us ahead of the curve, or at least on top of the curve. But I think we're getting there now that we've got these changes that we're asking and making that request from the programming committee. I think this is a worthwhile move, and I think this will kind of put us not ahead of the curve, but at least within the curve of where we need to be if we want excellence when it comes to the programming committee, or the programming. Outside of that, I'll yield there and look forward to hearing from my colleagues like the vice chair and so on. Outside of that, I'll yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Mitchell. I do have one. So obviously, equipment here in Douglas County. Again, we're evolving. My youngest just went from 21 to 22. In other words, he's upgrading his what he does, his craft. He's updating his clothes. He's evolving as an adult. And likewise, I believe as a community, as a county, that we evolve as well. As you guys like what they call generational theory. We move from one state of being to the next. And so, I mean, obviously, our equipment is old. I remember when I came in, at that time, the director that precedes Director Martin, Commissioner Mitchell, I think you were just coming on board. We invested in some equipment, but it still wasn't quite there yet. Right, in comparison to our county seat, the city, to this world. So when I hear the sentiment of excellence, I'm like, okay, so hopefully we didn't buy used equipment like we did last time, and that we got what we really need for quality. And the citizens deserve better. They're worth what they're worth. And so it's about their experience. It should, and if you can materially tell the difference between our broadcast, and it's based on our equipment. I mean, the whole world is technologically, it's all about that. And so the citizens can tell the difference. And so I don't know if this will address the freezing and the different thing that happens out there. And I don't know, you guys know that's not my world, but I'm trusting Commissioner Mitchell with your leadership that we're on the right track, as you would say, and we're on our way to getting there. So I'm fine with what as is, guys. Obviously the source of this is ARPA money. It was something that the board passed, obviously, to ensure that a certain percentage was dedicated toward technology, which normally would not have been able to address this under a normal budgeting cycle. It may not have been high on the priority in light of everything that we've done. So duly noted. So that's all I have to say on that. Commissioner Carthen, Commissioner Dowdy, y'all want to? You good? All right. I mean, yes, go right ahead, please.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Just one ask is, you said 4 companies were contacted, so this was not just bid out, because this is about almost $500,000. Does this fall under a category of professional services, or I know we have technology companies here in Douglas County, so I just wondered, was it bid out or was it just 4 contacted? Because it's under 50, I think, is what we normally contact companies. But are you saying this was not bid out?
What I'm saying, that is correct. Under the direction of the previous county administrator, we were following actions, and we went out and searched for the proposals and quotes as such.
So you're talking about the one that just left? The
Yes,
county
ma'am.
administrator.
Yes, ma'am.
But is this proper procedure? That's what I'm asking. Should we, this is a large contract, should we not bid it out?
I believe, I'm sorry.
Pardon?
Let me help you there,
Okay.
Commissioner. So this was a specialty type of a situation versus we should have maybe have bidded it out, but based on the specialty with the studio build out, with the equipment and the type of equipment and the things that was needed to kind of fulfill this request of improving our programming technology, then we had to find companies that were available. Yes, there were several companies that we've spoken with. However, we nailed it down to this particular company based on the needs of what we need in this particular programming assessment. So it could have been bidded out, but the request would have been kind of uniquely driven because of the specialty needs in this particular department. So that's why and I don't want to speak for you, Rick, but I think that was the reasoning as to what we call, not that we didn't want to bid it out, but we just went selectively to several companies to find out on this specialty build.
That is correct. That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. And the 4 amounts that were submitted to you, that's on record somewhere?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. With that, I yield back.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thank you both for that obviously engaged conversation and duly noted. We have rules and policy to help guide decisions, not necessarily to dictate them, but to guide us to make sure that we're consistent, that there is open. And so this begets something that I think will come up later when we get into discussion about this year's legislation of 2022. That if there's some clarity that needs to be done, we'll so make them. And I do have that on the agenda regarding purchasing to align some things that there needs some clarity to be made. But as it relates to this particular item, looks like it was duly vetted. Obviously, you had 2 committees that it went through. And so duly noted that there was sort of an open conversation regarding it. So I thank you guys for handling it that way. Both the chairs of both those committees, thank you so much. And so is there anything else on this item that you guys want to discuss? All right. Director Martin, thank you. We'll see it on the floor tomorrow officially for the vote. Thank you, Commissioner, for the recommendation. Madam Clerk, let's keep moving.
Yes, sir. Number 17, authorization for Greystone Power to install 21 school flasher service hookups to various county school flashers at an aggregate cost of $336 per month and street lights at 4 intersections at an aggregate cost of $62.25 per month, to be funded from the general fund, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Director Valentin is here for that one.
Director Valentin, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair.
Yes.
This item resulted in our department, transportation, traffic operations, doing inspections on school zones to make sure that they were up to date. And we found several that lacked the flashers. And so the signage was out there for enforcement purposes, but there were no flashers. So this essentially is an upgrade to those locations. They are established school zones. It is a safety component to have the flashers alerting motorists of the need to slow down during school hours. And the billing for the services, the power hookup, will be incorporated into the routine invoicing that Greystone sends the county for all of the street lights that we have throughout the county.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you, Director Valentin. I mean, again, this is dealing with our school system, 30,000 strong out of 146,000 total population, right? And obviously our children are, that school system is the hearth of the county. They're self-contained. those campuses. You know, got their own police forcing, which means that, look, they're protected. When they step off that campus, we're responsible. At the point of transition, we're responsible, like you said, from one to the other, what they call safe passage. So I think this is something that's important. I'm always sensitive to, obviously, the school board is totally different than the board of commissioners, where, you know, our positions and how we take things, their focus is strictly on them kids. They shouldn't have to worry about stuff like this. They should be able to come and go inside that system with safety, with make sure that there's you know, things are taken care of for them. So it's, again, safe passage. So I have no problem with this. To my fellow peers, this just sounds like normal maintenance and operation. But this is something that, again, just like our sidewalks and anything else, we need to make sure things are maintained. And thank you, Miguel, for going out there and recognizing that we had a lack in certain areas. And that's the whole point. Let's go back and take inventory. Let's go back and take inventory. Thank you for being consistent, and thank you for your diligence on this. Fellow peers, anybody want to weigh in on this one? This is something that obviously we talked about in committee for transportation, but you're more than welcome to weigh in.
Commissioner Robinson.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Carson from the 3rd District, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Director Valentine, or this may be a more appropriate question for the Deputy County Administrator. What will the monthly cost be total? Because we do have an ongoing bill that we have with Georgia Power. So either you can give it to me monthly, or you could just give it to me annually. What would the increase be? And how will it impact the budget? And I know it will come from the general fund, although I don't see it on the action item. I'm assuming it will come from the general fund. Correct.
Commissioner Carson, this is Miguel. It is stipulated in the item that the funding would come from the general fund, along with the other invoicing that is done for the street lights at other locations and the other school flashes that we have. So that the total monthly, again, was $336 for the school flashers and $62.25 for the street lights. That is the additional. I would have to defer to someone else, perhaps Deputy Administrator or maybe Director Miller, as to what the total amount is, but it is substantially higher than that, because we have all of the traffic signals throughout the county that have power hookups. We have all of the street lights that we have at intersections, and the ones that have been added as part of this Plus program. So this would be incremental to that, but it is a substantial annual bill that the county pays for the power.
Good. So my question, so I do see it. It says the aggregate cost of $336 per month, and it would come from the general fund. So the $336 per month, addition to what we're already paying, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And that would cover the 21 school flashers and the
correct.
Okay. And if you don't have it now, Deputy Perry, if you could just get it to us, because again, all we do is appropriate, and so we have to make sure that we're budgeting correctly for this, and so we just want to make sure that as we amend the budget, as the new amendment to the budget will come up at the next meeting of Vice Chair Robinson. I'm correct? Yes. Okay. So so we just need to make sure that we incorporate that, so we'll know exactly what we're working with to add to the budget. But with that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. To all, yes, make sure we get a copy. Director Miller, bring that forth tomorrow. Just send it to us, and we'll just read it of the record to respond to her question. But duly noted. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Vice Chair?
Yes, Director.
Yeah.
I mean, Guider, no. Guider, heard one person.
I've had a promotion.
Yeah.
Anyway, Director Miguel Valentine. The fact that you're saying the agenda item reads authorization to install 21 school flasher services. Have we not been doing this in the past? I do know on Mason Creek Road, there's a overhead flasher sign about the school. So if we haven't been doing it in the past, do you know why? And also what came about to change it?
There are some locations that have been done in the past. I would say about the same number were already existing.
Did we install them, but prior?
Yeah, the county had installed them, but as school zones were added in the ordinance, those locations, the signage, and this goes back many years, but the signage was installed, but the flashers were not. And so as we reviewed all of the locations in the ordinance, we found that some of them had the flashers, some didn't. And so we're looking to install at those locations to get them up to par.
Okay, so we have installed the ones that are already up. So nothing's changed. We just didn't do it in the past for some reason.
Right. Some of them were missed.
Okay. All right. I yield back. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Thank you, Director Valentine. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. We have number 18, authorization to award R.J. Haney the installation of power hookups to the I-20 gateway signs at Thornton Road and Liberty Road in the amount of $35,085 to be funded from the 2016 SPLOST funds allocated to the project, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. And it's Director Valentine again.
All right. Director, you have the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair. This item, again, we've talked about it before in terms of the two signs, the gateway signs, one at Thornton, one at Liberty. And the signs were installed. The initial installation was a separate contract, but we found that the signs actually have the capability to be internally lit. Now, most signs that GDOT allows to be installed along the interstate are not lit, but we approached GDOT and were able to secure a permit to light the signs, and we need the power hookup to be able to do that. We tested the signs. We know they work. We just need to run power to them. So we reached out to a number of contractors, and this is the lowest proposal. It is a proposal that includes running the power underground so that the landscaping that was installed at those locations is not disturbed. So again, the goal is to have signs that are more visible at night.
Good. All right. This is something also that's been talked about in our Committee of Transportation. To my peers, you guys want to weigh in on this? This seems to be the next step of this, obviously, project for beautification and enhancement to obviously Douglas County, the new Douglas County. Any thoughts, comments?
Yes, Vice Chair Robinson.
Yes, please. If you want to call everybody directors, my bad. Commissioner Carthen from the 3rd District, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So, Director Valentine, with this project, this would mean that we would need to tap Georgia Power again in order for power to get to the signs.
That is correct. There would be a monthly invoice for power as well.
Do we know what that anticipated cost would be?
I don't have that information handy, but typically it's about $20 for street lights. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine that this would be in that range, $15 to $20 a month for each sign.
Got you. So it would help us again to anticipate what we're budgeting and what we're amending the budget to include. So this is being paid out of SPLOST, which is great, but then we do need to anticipate our monthly costs as well.
Understood.
And just for future notice, was it even thought about to install signage that could generate power itself, like solar?
That consideration was not made. It is a possibility, certainly, for consideration in the future. There would have to be a panel to generate that electricity and an installation somewhere, and it would have to be particularly for these two signs, you would have to be as far away from the interstate as possible for safety reasons. But it is something to consider in the future. Yes.
These are just things we need to consider as a board and as staff as you are recommending things to us, because those types of things, we may have to front the money up front, but over the long haul and over the long period of operating, we start to cut costs. And so I would appreciate if we start looking at those types of things. But I'm ready to see them lit up. So I'm excited about this part of it. I won't lie. But thank you so much. I yield, Vice Chair Robinson.
Mr. Carthen, thank you so much. And to that point, the board has, give ourselves credit, we did talk about solar in recent times, just we weren't ready. We had presentations along with our HVAC consideration to our procurement officer out there. We have talked about it, we just separated the two, right? In other words, like, okay, so a different source of obviously energy. And again, holistically, as opposed to sort of a one-off, it's across the whole system, right? Not just for a couple of lights. Like, okay, we're gonna do this. You need volume, you need capacity, you need worth the investment. So to your point, I love it, Commissioner Carthen, that you're challenging the board for those considerations. And I appreciate your refinement of your numbers. And while the numbers may be small, her point is, okay, guys, we got to be a little bit more accurate. Government typically, oh, it's good enough for government. It just gets washed in. But her point is like, no, I need a little bit more refinement now. I want to be down to the penny. And I appreciate that perspective. So anybody else on this one? All right, thank you, my fellow peers. Director Valentine, thank you so much. Madam Clerk, let's keep it moving.
Yes, sir. Number 19, authorization to purchase stream mitigation credits from Mulberry Creek LLC in the amount of $2,550 required for the stream buffer variance on the Stewart Mill and Reynolds Road intersection improvement project to be funded from 2016 SPLOST funds allocated to the project, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. And this is Director Valentine again.
That's how you do it. Come back from vacation and you just filibuster the whole meeting. Okay, Miguel, go ahead. You got the floor again. Thank you
very much, Vice Chair. There is a correction on this item. The amount of the purchase that's required is going to be $8,585. That information came in while I was on vacation, so we're needing to update that. The permit was under review by EPD. They calculated the fee. We were hopeful to minimize the cost, and what we submitted was based on our best hope that would be the amount. They recalculated and they have actually issued the permit conditioned upon purchasing the credits in the amount of $8,585. So good news is that the permit has been issued, but it cost us a little more.
To the commissioners that this may impact your areas, Chip, you guys want to weigh in?
Vice Chair Robinson.
Yes. Mr. Carthen, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. It says impact my area. I think it borders District 3 and District 4, but it is needed, especially with those improvements that are happening along Stewart Mill and Reynolds Road. So I have no objection. It is needed. We want to maintain our stream quality, and we want to make sure that we're in compliance. So I have no. Although I wish the cost didn't go up, I have no issues with the cost. The cost is the cost, but thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Guider, you want to weigh in, or are you okay? Okay, take her silence that she's good.
She's on mute.
She's on mute.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No problem. Take the time. You have the floor.
I agree with the commissioner from the third district, but I'm waiting to see some signs of some construction. This one's been waited on. This intersection has been on the docket, I guess you'd say, since 2002. Badly needed, especially with the new growth that's going in that area. And it's down in a dip. The only Stewart Mill Road is in my district, but I have been pushing for this intersection to be done, to have the through lane so that the traffic does not have to stop on that curve. It can keep moving if somebody is turning to the left. And that's what it's all about. It's about safety. And it cannot happen soon enough. I do not understand. I know we have different governments we have to go through, like EPD. I don't understand all this about the credits and everything. I guess they had to pay EPD so much money when they built that subdivision. And so now they're selling some of the credits they didn't have to use. Doesn't make sense to the average person, but I just pray I live to see flags or something going up there. The survey is going on, some movement in that area. It's badly needed for the people that really live in District 3, but also for the people that's going on down, traveling on down Stewart Mill into my district. So couldn't happen soon enough.
Yes, Commissioner, we anticipate that we will be bidding the project out before April is out, and we will receive bids on it in May.
Hallelujah. Now we've got the design. It's already
we have the design completed. We have
right away.
The right of way is in place. And all we needed was 2 permits, one from the Army Corps, which we have, and one for a stream buffer variance, which is this item is connected to, and we'll be ready to advertise for you.
Very good, very good. I think we ought to have a party when that happens. So, all right, move it along, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. You yield the floor, and in that sentiment, let's keep this moving then. If there's nothing else that needs to be talked about this, we'll yield to the leadership and support of the 2 commissioners that this impacts us from 3 and 4. So Commissioner Mitchell, if you're okay with through silence, we'll keep this meeting moving. All right, Madam Clerk, please weigh in. Next item.
Yes, sir. Director Valentin has one more item.
All right.
Authorization to advertise for a public hearing to consider amending section 14-72 of the County Code of Ordinances, which is zones prohibiting trucks with more than 6 wheels, to include additional roads. Director Valentin.
This is a big one. This is an important one, obviously, a revisit. So Director Valentin, way to close it out with a very important item. Please weigh in.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Yes, we have over the months and perhaps years had complaints from residents that there are inordinate amounts of trucks utilizing what they deem to be residential roads. Certainly, based on the county ordinance, the only roads that are dedicated or labeled as and signed as for truck use are the state routes. According to a comprehensive plan, transportation plan, state routes would be the only routes. Now, that does not necessarily mean that trucks cannot go on other roads. If they have business at those locations in those neighborhoods for deliveries or pickup, they are allowed. But nonetheless, the intent of Ordinance 1472 is to limit the number of trucks that stray away from state routes whenever possible. And to that end, there are probably, I'm looking at a list of about 10 roads or so And I'll read those into the record just because this is a request for a public hearing for consideration. And to the extent that there is no action other than allowing the public hearing to be set today, the roads that are going to be on the docket to be considered during that public hearing, if it's the will of the board, would be adding Johnson Road from Mason Creek to Pool Road from Ephesus Church Road to Billerica for State Route 5, Tyson Road from Connors Road to the end, Chapel Hill Road from I-20 to 166, Lee Road from South Sweetwater to Fairburn Road, Mount Vernon from South Sweetwater Church to Fairburn Road, South Sweetwater Road from Mount Vernon to Veterans Memorial, Post Road from Veterans Memorial Highway to the Carroll County line, Parkside Parkway from Thornton Road to Fairburn Road, and Malone Road from Huey Road to the city limits. That last one was on the list previously. However, it was taken off the list as part of the detour route for the construction of State Route 92. That construction has now essentially been completed enough that the detour is not going to be needed anymore, and therefore that road can be placed back on the list. And essentially, it would, for enforcement purposes, it would be any truck that has over 6 wheels is not allowed to utilize those roads unless they have some business to attend to on the road or in those neighborhoods. So that's the list under consideration. This is a request for the board to authorize publishing in the local legal organ and holding a public hearing at a future date to be decided by you.
Thank you, Director Valentine. Duly noted to my fellow peers, this is simply a request to authorize obviously publication in the legal organ for a public hearing. Obviously at that time, our respective citizens will come out and weigh in if they so choose to regarding this matter. Obviously truck traffic is important from disturbance, from safety, etc. Commissioner Mitchell from the First District attended our Transportation Committee and he weighed in on this. So I'm going to also to my fellow peers, Commissioner Carthen and Commissioner Guider from the 3rd and 4th District. Have you had a chance to take a look at these roads? Do you have any comments regarding these? And Commissioner Mitchell, you can always speak again. But you guys have any comments regarding this list? Again, it'll come up during the public hearing, but this is the list that's officially going forth in the legal organ.
Vice Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Guider, you have the floor.
Yes, I recommended to the director to add several of these roads in my district. So we were having a lot of trouble. There were schools that there was nothing but residential and schools on some of these roads, and they were just flying down them. So I appreciate us moving forward with this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Advocacy for your district and obviously having something on the list, that's how you influence it. Well done. Thank you for letting me know that you contributed to this. Commissioner Carthen, you want to weigh in? I just want to make sure, because I've talked to everybody else, including Madam Chair, just want to make sure respectfully, District 3, you blessed it, you're okay. You know you can always amend it again, but at the moment, are you okay with the list?
I am. My only question to Director Valentine is how will we get this out to the public so that they can weigh in? Just to be sure that everyone has an opportunity to see this. I know we will advertise it in the Sentinel, but will we do the flashing signage? What will we do to ensure that the public does weigh in on this?
Commissioner Carthen, generally the publication in the legal organ, certainly there could be a notice, a public notice placed on our website, but typically if it were perhaps one road or so, we could consider variable message signs for it, or perhaps some other type of stationary sign. But with the number of roads involved, we were thinking that it would be the advertisement that is required in the legal organ and posting on our website.
Okay, with that, I yield.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to keep this going, but to that point about communication, and I don't know what our distribution is for our legal organ. And I know we've got an email list locally of about 15,000 people. But as you know, there's 101,000, and Director Kidd, correct me, of voters. That means there's an 85,000 point disparity in communication. And normally it's the same people get the same information, typically ways through the same old time. And but to this point, like, okay, but how do you extend information? Right? How do you reach out to those people who are not being served? Which is sort of to my point earlier, the comment that was made earlier about contracts and why we need to educate the public. Because information is important. If they're denied that information, if we don't take the government to them, then only those that are in the circle get the benefit from it. And I have a fundamental problem with that. So to Commissioner Carson's point, there should be, this would be beneficial. In other words, well, if we took care of this on their behalf as commissioners, which we should, we were advocating for their interest, then it should be okay. But at the same point, you still want them to have the option to weigh in, the option to show up and be at a public hearing if they so choose. So anyway, I won't belabor this. I think everybody has so much weighed in. This is just to authorize. Guys, be thoughtful. I don't know. We have emails. You have direct mailing, 55-cent stamp. What have we historically done? We talk about how well technology is, but it's not reaching that many people. Oh, I love that technology, but right now we're not reaching the people. Everybody's not online. Everybody does not look at Facebook. Everybody does not use the internet. We have, especially out in our western, in our outer edges, it doesn't. And these are some of the areas that perhaps they should be, obviously communicated with. So I just wanted to make that point because again, it's all connected. It's just being able to see all of it together. It touches a lot of issues per se, but thank you for bringing that up. Miguel, since you were the last one, I'm going to go ahead and close this one out since everybody's weighed in. Thank you so much. We'll see it on the floor to authorize, obviously, publication in the legal organ.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Number 21, approval of revised 2022 schedule for work sessions, commission meetings, planning and zoning board meetings, and variance hearings. And this is one I am bringing forth. So if it's okay with you, I'll go ahead and give an explanation.
Please, you have the floor.
Okay. We approved, or you as a board approved, a Juneteenth holiday. That was this year, which was after we had published the schedule already. That day will be observed on Monday, June 20th, which is a scheduled work session. So we are proposing to move that work session to Tuesday, the June 21st, and then moving the commission meeting to Wednesday, June 22nd. The other change is we had the first meeting in November scheduled for November 3rd, which is a Thursday. That was because the assumption was that election day was the first Tuesday of November. It has been brought to my attention that election day is November 8th. It normally is the first Tuesday of November, unless the first actually falls on that Tuesday, and then it's moved to the second Tuesday. So we are proposing to move that meeting back to our normal date of November the 1st. Then the next one is, let me find it here. That's the only changes for our commission meetings and work sessions. The P&Z board meeting changes goes along with the Board of Commissioners meetings. The same with the November meeting. It has been moved. It was originally scheduled for Thursday, November 3rd, due to the assumption of the election day. So that meeting will revert back to the usual schedule of November 1st as well. And then the December meeting is moved to November 29th to be in line with the BOC schedule. And the variance hearing changes That is due to the approval of the Juneteenth holiday as well. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. I just thought with the number of changes, we would go ahead and change the yearly schedule.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. No, this is important to the public, though it may seem to be administrative. Anything regarding the Board of Commissioners has to be an official record since official business is being done, which means you have to notify the public officially and have a stable calendar. And it must be notified ahead of time. So we're just cleaning some things up based on alignment. Commissioners, you guys understand what this is. Any comments? All right, Madam Clerk, thank you. Oh, yep. Commissioner Mitchell, weigh in, sir.
No. I'm just saying all was good. All was good.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, thank you so much for that. We'll just go ahead and take care of that tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, the next item, these next two items, they were actually brought to us late in the game here for the agenda items. Authorization to renew the inmate housing agreement with the Douglasville Police Department and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Chief Connor is here to discuss this.
Chief, you out there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So our previous contract with the city was for 2 years. It was for $36.94 for a day in housing and medical costs. This year, due to the increasing cost of inmate medical care, the cost went to $37.52, which is $35 a day for general process, and then $2.52 a day for the health care, and that just covers routine medicine and not anything with any ongoing chronic issues. That is an added as it comes due. So this is for 1 year for $37.52 a day for the city housing of the city inmates.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Real quick, and to Pierce, I really want y'all to weigh in this. All right, so this is the city of Douglasville, right? And we're housing their inmates. So what is the percentage, or what is the number of inmates? What's the total population in our jail? And then what percentage or what number represents city inmates? Can you have that number?
We average about 630 inmates a day, and the city inmates is usually just slightly less than 100 a day.
Slightly less than 100. Okay, 12%. All right. So, all right. So this, I mean, do we negotiate these? Is it based on some type of? I mean, how do you determine the number? I mean, again, this is you guys' world. But I'm just curious. How do you pick the right number? Is it state law? Is it a statute that drives this? Is it tell us when we can make adjustment, or is it just our local handshake? How does it work?
I believe it's an agreement between the sheriff and the chief for the 35 a day, and then the $2.52 for medical care is determined by what we pay for the contract for the inmate medical care, taking the percentages of inmates they have compared to what we have.
Okay, so we do extend this further. Commissioner Carter, I hope you weigh in on this one. All right, Chief, I think I got it. This one is obviously, because we're dealing with another jurisdiction, obviously, you know, I'm always sensitive to things like SCS and laws, how we have these intergovernmental connection points, how do they shake out in the scheme of things? So to my fellow peers, anybody want to take this one?
Vice Chair Robinson.
Mr. Carthen from 3rd District, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Mr. Connor, the agreement that you have before us, is this a yearly agreement, or how often are these negotiations brought before us?
In the past, it's been a 2-year agreement because the medical care cost was kind of stable. However, since COVID and the workforce in the nursing staff, the salaries have increased in order to retain and hire LPNs and registered nurses. It's very fluid at this time, and we chose to only do this for 12 months.
Got you. So it's something that you could revisit after this 1-year agreement to see where we are in terms of cost for caring for the city inmates.
Absolutely.
And is there any, do we also have an agreement, this is just for my own knowledge, do we also have an agreement with any other city besides Douglasville for cost of inmates?
Yes, we have Austell, Billerica, and Chattahoochee Hills.
And Chattahoochee Hills. Okay, so we also help them with their inmate population to house those that commit crimes within those cities.
Yes, but the like Chattahoochee Hills, we may maybe get 5 a year. It's very limited, and the other 2 jurisdictions is not far from that. So the city of Douglasville is the bulk of the municipality inmates that we carry.
Do all of the other cities pay the same amount, or is this just based on the population?
They pay different amounts.
They pay different amounts. Okay. All right. I will yield. This is something that I'm hoping Commissioner Mitchell and I can discuss later. But thank you so much for bringing this to us, and thank you all for at least taking a look at it to ensure that you are getting necessary costs in order to maintain the quality of service over there at the jail for these inmates that you house. Thank you so much, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else?
I just got one question.
Yes, Commissioner.
Vice Chair. Okay, and thanks, and this is some good dialect. And my only question is this, though. From what you're getting from the various jurisdictions, is it truly a true cost or realistic cost of covering, and not that it's for the year that you got this contract, or 2 years rather? Does it really, I mean, is the cost, is that a real cost, or you just kind of floated and see kind of where it ends up, I guess? Expense rather, I'm sorry.
As far as the medical costs, it's right on point. The other housing costs, I think it's slightly lower than what the actual cost is, but it's a very difficult number to come up with.
Agreed. I can see that. I can.
You got everything from the maintenance of the building to the electricity to the water to
right. And that's what I was alluding to, though, is that, you know, is it slightly lower from what you're saying, or where's that sweet spot that you guys tend to go? Is this that sweet spot that you got for right now versus, you know, in 2 weeks from now with inflation, that number could have changed, you know, again, because of just the cost of just doing business, I guess.
Right. And if it helps you answer your question, if, say, another jurisdiction outside of Douglas County wanted to house a significant amount of inmates here,
Mm-hmm.
it would be much more than $37.52 a day.
Got it. Okay. But that's just the relationship that the chief and the sheriff have, that they kind of said, okay, we'll do it at this rate, even though it's costing us $5 more. And I'm just using a number. It's costing us per inmate $5 more. We'll just eat that cost. And
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead. You're fine.
Yes, that's been an agreement, I believe, all the way back through the Miller administration, and maybe even prior to that, for that set amount. So it is dated.
Got it. So I can see that Joe Wisnut and Miller and now the sheriff just kind of doing that, which is, I mean, I'm glad to hear that there's a good relationship going there. But I guess my only concern is to make sure that the citizens of Douglas County is not footing the bill just because we're trying to, you know, we just want to make sure that we're good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. And in doing such, we got to make sure by doing that, we got to make sure that the sheriff don't overextend himself just trying to be a gentleman and a scholar, I guess.
Right, and there's another portion of this agreement, which is add-on funds, and basically it reads, the city agrees to collect and impose an additional penalty of 10% of the original fine for each offense against the criminal or traffic laws of this state or any other ordinance in the city when such cases are tried in the municipal court of the city. So there's an additional 10% that they own, that kind of covers, I think, the deficit of what may be
incurred, I guess. Yeah. I got you. Okay, all right. I'll leave it there though, but we'll kind of leave it there. But thank you, and I appreciate it, and I'm glad that we've got some great relationships going on here too. So, but I just don't want the citizens of Douglas County to more or less have to eat those kind of costs, you know. But that's a working process. But I'll leave it there. I yield, Madam Vice Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Commissioner Mitchell. No, duly noted. Your opinion matters. 7% of your district is part of the city, and so obviously you have a much better vantage point on sort of how we need to be looking at this. And so I thank you for that, Chief. Real quickly, so I heard you say we average 600 odd people, and I know it is following in and out. 600 people on average, which has really been that way since, again, the director of communication prior to Rick Martin used to track this report. It's always been somewhere between 600 and 700, just constant 650 year over year over year. You know, our population has grown over the 14 years I've been here. 600 year over year over year, weekly. We publish that report. I'm making a point. I still have to show it. So, and so again, our capacity of that jail is 1,750 people. We've never, on average, only been 630 ever. That means that's 1,200. That's what, 2x overbuilt, 6% in capacity. All right, you need double at least for general, so the third overbuilt. And I'm showing a math problem. I'm just listening to what I'm hearing. It's like, ooh, that's so a third of that jail is 150 million. I don't like 40 million. Like, I could have bought those cameras and bought that fleet. Cause that we didn't get to. We could have took care of some things that again, you had a single source of just one thing, and it wasn't distributed right. It wasn't. And if we ever get a chance like that again, in which we did back in 2016, where we were faithful over this, we won't make that mistake again. It's just too concentrated. Now, it grieves me every time I hear about it, because gosh, look how big that thing was built. It's not that it doesn't matter, but then we get to appreciate the future decisions that we make. Like when back to Commissioner Carson, her refinement on numbers, be specific, be fine-tuned, make sure that your assumptions and your projections are on point, that we don't blow the runway by 20 miles and be out in outer orbit. So good conversations. Since Royce, I appreciate the nickel and dime, but also sometimes it's easy to get that $150 million pass and nobody can like, okay, it's the order of magnitude that sometimes we miss. It's easy to beat up on $10. But can you really look at 100 million and get that and stuff like, well, it's okay, sounds about right. So it's no. It just proves my point here. All right, I won't belabor this. Chief, we got this duly noted. I think like everybody's got peace, unless Commissioner Guy wants to weigh in. I think we're good. All right, we're all silent. All right, thank you, Chief. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Number 23, approval of an agreement with the City of Douglasville related to the purchase of the county's parking lot at the corner of Church Street and Bowdoin Street and the county parcel adjacent to the town green site, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Mr. Coleman, I believe, is going to address this one.
Mr. Vice Chair, members of the commission, I believe this agreement was previously approved, but there have been a few tweaks, nothing major. We thought since this is about to close, I think it's going to be presented for final approval to the city council within this week sometime. We thought we'd put the agreement back before the board just to make sure that it was approved in final form and ready to go forward. We do anticipate closing this very shortly, and so far no major issues or major changes from the deal points that you previously approved in the letter of intent and in our discussions. So this is really just that agreement that reflects the terms that we've discussed. I'm pretty sure I previously sent it to you, and everybody signed off on it. Let me know if you have any questions about the transaction or what the deal is.
Thank you, County Attorney. We appreciate your They're refreshing. I thank you for the transparency. We've got this in the public. We have talked about this before. Obviously it's not an executive session matter dealing with real estate. So to my fellow peers that might have more of a direct interest in this one, again, we're just going to closing, making some amendments to the documents and fine tuning. Any questions, concerns? Silence is what it is. I know how to keep moving. Thank you, County Attorney. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Now we have discussion items. Number 24, we have committee updates.
All right.
I'm going to turn that back over to you.
All right, I'm gonna flip this one and talk about legislation first. As in County Attorney, I want you to pay attention to this. As a board, we talk about maturing financial maturity, but also it's legislative maturity. Historically, we just haven't touched many things, only if something breaks down. And there's questions, even from the public regarding what is our, what are the rules by which you're operating? And it's nothing to fear other than like, right, everything's unaligned, whether it's from the state to, a state law, local legislation, an ordinance, a policy. If you really look at everything, there's a lot of misalignment. And so we appreciate you being here to help me go tackle a couple of things. So for this year's, we've done obviously some things last year and the prior year dealing with fiscal policies, but last year we did things that we needed to touch, and we probably need to retouch them again this year. So I'm asking for my peers, this is no action. This is just some things that I've sort of seen over time that we've talked about amongst ourselves, but there's no action today. You guys know you can weigh in at any time to take up things. We recognize that the county attorney is responsible for legislation. Mr. Carter, we talk about that all the time, that really the executive can. But just like with the General Assembly and Congress, we also can sponsor legislation that we think that it's important. In other words, they're responsible for everything, but we want you to focus on this right now. And so that's the power of the legislative branch. That look, this is what we're going to take up now. And so anyway, some thoughts. Again, I think that what I'm going to look at is our charter. Speaking of county attorney, there's some things that we experienced recently that this should have been addressed, that historically had not been addressed, that we can now tackle cleanly. So whatever that is, the county administrator, the county attorney, all that needs to be cleaned up in our charter. And we'll just say charter proper. You can take anything within that charter. I think that needs to be done. Second point, it's my understanding, and we'll get the answer for this. There was supposed to be some type of compensation adjustment for all elected officials, including the Board of Commissioners. If that does go forth, and it was supposed to be effective April 1st, if it does go forth, the board knows it has to take action accordingly. Level 3, level 4, it's my understanding it may not be effective until the beginning of next year after the next general election, which it makes sense, but we might as well clean that up while we're at it right now accordingly. So compensation as well as obviously the first one, which is charter. The next one is finance. I think we need to address, duly know that we're going to come back and finally finish that expense account thing. Just recently, just in case y'all know that, in my W-2, I've been getting a car allowance for 2 years. Now, interesting. I'm not eligible, but the administration has been giving me a car allowance. Well, how can you do that? I didn't ask for that. And so we need to clean some things up. I can take the car allowance and keep taking it, saying that they gave it to me. But to that point, there needs to be some alignment regarding our expense account. Accordingly, if you're going to tax me on my expense account, that means it's personal. I might as well just take it all. You have no comment, right? But the administration has already given me a car allowance. Like, well, why did y'all do that? So again, I'm legislative. I'm over here, but there's some things we need to clean up for all of us. So I'll take the hit for the whole team. Like, no, y'all go clean this up. Finance, I'm coming. I told you I was going to come and we're going to deal with this. It's time for us to take this up and clean it up. So along with that expense account is the alignment of our procurement, our credit cards. County clerk, please let's make sure that our new procurement officer gets the true credit card policy. She could not find one, but we know we took this up last year. But with that point, our process is not aligned. Our local legislation regarding expense accounts and how we do that is not aligned with our procurement, which is not aligned with our finance. See the whole system. So seeing that it's just taking so much time, I'll take the lead on that. Like, I'll get it aligned. I'll take care of it. And so I'll work with everybody to get that lined up so we can rest that, because again, some of the comments, they're warranted. Everything can be questioned, like, well, you know what? Actually get your point. So let's just clean all this stuff up and make it clean and take care of that accordingly. And then the last thing, of course, obviously I talked about purchasing, is I know there's some public engagement. I know there's some stuff already in play, being spearheaded and led by Commissioner Carson from the 3rd District regarding planning and zoning, making this more efficient. I mean, obviously, I think that, you know, public comment is something that I'm always big on, not censoring, but time limits and stuff. So that whole process of how we engage the public, making it much clearer and germane, is something I look forward to, obviously debating amongst our peers and making it this year's legislative agenda. So with that being said, guys, that's just me. I'm just putting this out there as a framework. Obviously, everybody gets to weigh in. You will weigh in. I know you will. If you got some thoughts beyond that, please let me know, or, you know, Lisa, and really, I would say the county attorney now, because again, last year, the past 2 years, there's no reason that we as legislators should be writing legislation. But now we got an attorney that's in play that actually can do that for us and not work against us. And I think that's going to be important, that he can help carry some of this stuff, because we're not lawyers. I can appreciate the Senate sometimes, but those guys are actually lawyers as they write. Those guys of the General Assembly, they are lawyers who are writing. We're not lawyers. And so while we have the power to go for county attorney, going to really need your help. Because again, sometimes, I mean, it's probably not the best that we do. We did the best we could because of who we are, but we're going to need your support, okay? County attorney? I just, he heard me. All right.
I did hear you, sir, and we're happy to assist.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much. To my peers, you guys want to weigh in? This was just sort of a place marker. No action was necessary. And again, to the extent that you want to take up or don't want to take up, obviously I will always respect your contribution.
Vice Chair Robinson.
Yes, Madam Carthen from the 3rd District, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So this may be more appropriate for our external affairs team. In addition to the House bill and Senate bills that will enact, that we must, they didn't appropriate for this, but we must, as a county, pay elected officials, that's the sheriff's judicial system, increased $5,000 across the board. On top of that, we also have House Bill 830, which is the sheriff's salary supplement. That would allow the sheriffs to receive additional salary supplement for the service of the courts outside of the Superior Court. I would really appreciate if you all would kind of give us a heads up in the details financially, so that as we start to appropriate or anticipate the appropriation, we will know what that will mean in aggregate. So all of those elected officials that we are mandated will be mandated once the governor signs it to pay them, including ourselves, and the supplemental salary that we will have to give to the sheriffs for the additional courts. So if you could really help us out in getting those numbers to us so that we can appropriate accordingly for our budget, so there won't be any surprises.
Yes, Commissioner Carthen. House Bill 830, it has not moved out of committee, and we don't expect it to at this point, but there is another bill that some of the information has been stripped out and put in. So we'll know today where the movement is with that one.
I just heard it because I was on the ACCG call that they put it inside of another bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you can kind of help us anticipate, we will believe that it more than likely it will pass. But we just need to make sure that we know the amounts. If we could just anticipate.
Yes, ma'am.
And again, the other costs for the increase of the salaries of $5,000 across the board, we can find out how many elected officials we will have to give that to as well.
Yes, ma'am. I'll make sure to get you guys that information. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to having these discussions regarding local legislation as well. In terms of the HOA legislation that we had brought forth, that came from a citizen. In terms of the getting Airbnb or short-term rentals aligned, that came from citizens. So I just, implore the citizens, if you have things that are going on in your neighborhood, or you see things, or you hear things, and you wonder how can they be addressed, it does not hurt to send your Board of Commissioners a letter just asking us, or at least making us aware of what you see and hear. You are our eyes and ears. We are here to serve you. I know when I knocked on your doors, I said, let me be your voice at the Board of Commissioners. I can only be your voice if you give me those things which are important to you. So again, when we bring up these legislative items, when we bring up things to look at, it's because citizens have given us what they're experiencing. So to Vice Chair Robinson's point, these legislative items are important. They help us to shape how we do business in Douglas County. They help us to shape how we need to appropriate in Douglas County. They help us to shape what we put before you. So you are a very intricate part of how we run this government and how we do business in Douglas County. So those are my comments, Vice Chair Robinson, and with that I yield.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioner Mitchell, Commissioner Goddard, y'all want to weigh in? Obviously, we're going to close. I'm not going to belabor the day, but please weigh in if you guys believe we need to take something up. You don't have to answer it today or respond, but we welcome you guys' participation.
Chairman Robinson, I'm good. Commissioner Mitchell.
Thanks, sir. Madam Goddard, you okay right now?
Well, the session's not over yet, so we really don't know yet. But we also have to look at the federal level too, because someone's advertising that they're going to pass a bill that will actually fall on the counties and the cities. So things like that, we just need to be watchful and vigilant. Okay, thank you.
All right, so to that point, I appreciate all. So Madam ACA. So to that point, the next meeting we come back together. And again, we would have done the revisit today, but I encourage Madam Chair, like, no, let's wait till we have a full house, and we'll revisit the second meeting of April. So since we're revisiting everything, and sometimes there is a cost impact doing that revisit, and obviously there's some unfunded mandates that may come down from the state or to the point of the feds. Can you get a reconciliation for us? Can you have that reconciled by the time we get to our next meeting?
Yes, we should have the information about the bills that will be passed. We won't yet have all the bills that have been either signed or vetoed by the governor, but we will at least have the ones that have been passed by that time.
Yeah, the best you can. We understand how it works. It's fine. It's what you know at that moment.
Yes, sir.
We have that to add to the conversation when we do the revisit, so that if there's something that we need to consider while we got this thing open, we want to make sure that we have to, well, guys, we got to do this, which means it could impact something else that we thought was on the table. So nevertheless, if my peers disagree with me, I stand in correction at any moment like that. All right, I won't belabor this. Committees, you guys want to weigh in? Anybody want to have a closing comment before we get into our next topic? Obviously, if we need to have executive session, which is my understanding, we need to have all three. So I'll yield to any one of you guys want to give a committee update, brief committee update. All right. I'll take silence. You guys know you can speak at any time whenever you want to, but thank you. I'm gonna take that as silence. So, Madam Clerk, no, there was just a placeholder anyway to give them a chance to speak. I put that accordingly to make sure they always have a chance to voice themselves. But we're not gonna force the moment. So, is there anything else, Madam Clerk?
No, sir, there is nothing on the agenda. I guess we will defer to the attorney. That's what we need to do.
Now, the attorney, sir, do we need to go in executive session?
Yes, sir. I would recommend executive session to discuss real estate matters, personnel, and pending litigation.
All right. Got you. So we've got all three. Fellow commissioners, we do need to take a break. I know we've been going strong and long right here for this moment, but we'll make that as part of the, obviously, any comments. So can I get a motion to go into executive session to consider and contemplate three matters such as personnel, litigation, and real estate?
Vice Chair Robinson, I make a motion that we go into executive session for real estate, legal matters, and what else was there, Attorney?
Personnel.
Personnel. Thank you.
All right, I got a motion. I'll second it just to keep it moving. I asked you guys in the context of if any comments, you want to take a, I don't know, you want to take a 10-minute break? All right.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll take a 10-minute break on that. All right, so I'll go around for all of us, starting with District 1. How will you vote on this matter going into executive session, yea or nay?
Yes.
District 2, Kelly Robinson, I vote yes. District 3,
Yes.
District 4.
Yes.
All right, there's no vote by Madam Chair being absent, so it passes 4-0 unanimously. To the public, this part of our work session is concluded. We're about to go into executive session, and as we satisfy that executive session, we shall come back. All right, County Clerk, we're now in executive session.
Yes.
You are back live. The floor is yours.
Thank you. The Douglas County Board of Commissioners work session of April 4th, 2022 has reconvened from executive session. Is there anything else that needs to come before this Board of Commissioners? County Attorney, there's one more item as a follow-up.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to ask the board's approval for a slight amendment to the letter of intent that was approved last week for the relationship with Holder. The purpose of the amendment is to clarify what we said in the letter of intent last week with respect to the board's obligation. The new language that has been proposed, and I do not know if Holder will accept it, but it states as follows. Section 2A will read, to the extent necessary to cause the road infrastructure improvements to be constructed in a timely manner, the county will advance funds from its general fund balance to fund the cost of construction, subject to repayment in full from TAD proceeds on a first priority basis when such proceeds become available. Number 4 would read, the financial obligations of the county hereunder shall be limited to TAD proceeds, including the repayment of funds advanced under Section 2A and shall in no event extend to the county's general fund. It's in essence what we said last week, but it's been tweaked and clarified a little. That's the language we hope that we can get them to accept and move the deal forward. So I'd like to ask for approval to make that change.
All right, so are you asking for administrative concurrence in essence because the board has already voted? What are we being asked to do at this moment?
Just this is a slight change from what you approved, and you don't have to take a formal vote because I know you approved it subject to legal review. I just wanted to make you aware of the new language that's being proposed, and since it's in substance the same as what was previously proposed. If you have objections to it, please raise them, but otherwise we can move forward.
No, thank you for your recommendation on trying to accommodate language potato versus patata. I think the board is clear on its commitment to the project and for the greater good of the citizens. It's important to note, and I'll express just for the Commissioner of the 2nd District as to not confuse the moment me sitting in this chair position, that as relates to guaranteeing a TAD, which is a vehicle that was established by the state to offset expenses from developers and take that appreciative value and putting it back in. I could never support a guarantee of that vehicle. It should stand on its own. The appreciative value should grow by default of the quality of the investment that's being made by all parties and all brands and all associated parties. And so it should function as it should without bearing the burden or creating a burden on the Board of Commissioners or the taxpayers' general fund. I just need to make that statement for the record to my peers. I could never support guaranteeing a TAD's performance. I'm going to stop with that. Do you guys want to weigh in on this? I mean, this is just an administrative concurrence, so I concur. Anybody else want to weigh in for the record? I want to keep moving. Okay.
Finally, Commissioner, I like to request the board's approval of you being authorized in the absence of the vice chair to sign any documents that may be necessary to close the real estate transaction this week, if it goes forward and closes. So I would seek the approval for a resolution along the following lines: that in the absence of the chairman, the vice chairman be authorized to sign all documents necessary to consummate the real estate transaction with the development authority.
Okay. So to that point, that's something that you want to put on the agenda tomorrow?
Yes.
All right. We can do so. Now, to the point of legislation and the cleaning up our charter. We did take action last year regarding the vice chair. By default,
right.
He is in a position to be able to act from the number 2 position by default in the absence of a chair. But to your point, I know you're just covering for now. I'll respect the will of my peers. Whatever we need to do, no problem. But I just want to, again, align all those up. By default, you should have it anyway. But
yes, I did see the policy. I think that because in a transaction such as this, parties are going to see specific authorization. There will probably be some opinion based on it. So that's why I asked for specific authorization.
Put on the agenda, duly noted. You're over covering us, duly noted. But I just wanted to acknowledge it wasn't that the fact that we didn't know the vice chair could sign, but because of the magnitude and the order of it, duly noted. You guys, y'all okay with this being on the agenda tomorrow? Okay, I got silence. All right, County Attorney, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, County Clerk, anything else on our agenda?
Sorry. No, there was nothing else on the agenda.
All right, to my fellow peers and to the public, I'm just sitting here in proxy and temporal. I will not belabor with some type of closing statement, so let this work session of the Board of Commissioners of Douglas County, April 4th, 2022, be adjourned. Thanks, guys. Thanks for accommodating me.